And I told my dad, if you don't beat me, I will tell you who did it. And then I gave the answer and I was quite badly beaten. So, you see, I grew up, somehow everything was, I was known for destruction. I was nothing known for anything good that can come out of Benny. Not just the educational part, even with my thing like, for my birthday I would get a new watch. And I want to know what is inside the watch. I don't know why I could not wear the watch as it is. And then I opened the watch, removed every bit that could be opened, and then put them on the table. I felt very satisfied. And then I put them all back, except that one screw was not fitting anywhere. And then the watch stopped working. And so my mind was very inquisitive. But nobody could understand why is Benny like this. You see, talents come in different forms, shapes, sizes, and colors. If we cannot identify, then we will miss out on what God's plan is for our lives. And especially in the Indian culture, they have a format that they follow. And if you do these things, then you fit into the culture. If you don't, then you are out. And that's why you see, they spend so much of money and time on cricket. We have enough cricket going on. They can spend that money on something else, We need more sporting activities. But the problem is like this. Even shops, you see. If there is one shoe shop, then you will see the next. Within no time, 10 shoe shops come there only. You can go somewhere else, right? But somehow, culturally, this has been a challenge for us. Is when something, if someone is successful in one area, everybody wants to follow the same thing. Creativity and innovation is still a far-fetched idea in many of the Indian families. And I struggled. And then on top of that, I was born with asthma, and from the age of 2 till the age of 16, I was on wrong medication. And as a result of that, 60% of my lungs got damaged, my immune system broke down, and I developed rheumatoid arthritis. And by 16, the doctors had given me 6 months to live medically because of these challenges. So in my 10th standard, I failed, and it was a very crucial thing in India, where by 10th standard, if you don't do well in 10th, your future changes, right? And if you fail in 10th standard, then you don't have a future at all. And so they called my parents and they said, your son has failed, but it's very strange because he's the first ever failure in our school. So we don't want to have him. So the deal is if you can take him to another school, we will talk to them and he can join there. So diplomatically, I was kicked out of the school actually. And that's how, and I felt that I had no value in the society. And so at 16, at the lowest point, I contemplated to kill myself. And I was least interested in God, religion, faith, anything. Yes, I went to church because I was required to go to church by my family. It was not that I had a choice to go to church. But when I attended a youth camp, I heard the audible voice of Jesus Christ. And now the question comes is, can God speak? Or will God speak? Or should God speak? And I couldn't believe it. Why would God speak? And I thought that he only spoke to the smart ones, like my brother and my 3 sisters, or my father, my mother. And I was just a broken, worn out, sad guy. And he said, Benny, even though you are called useless, I want you. And I share this story over and over again. And your testimony is evergreen. Your achievements might not be evergreen, because if somebody comes and breaks your record, then it's over. But your testimony is always evergreen. That's why never ever shy away from sharing your experience with Jesus. So I heard his voice and he said, Benny, even though you're called useless, I want you. I can transform your life and make you a new person. And so I surrendered my broken life into the hands of Jesus Christ. I had no future. because I failed my 10th standard, and in India, if you don't have 10th standard, then you're gone. And I was a weak guy. I could not even work in in a construction company. You need to lift heavy things, but I was so weak. I couldn't even join the gangs, because when I joined the gangs, they said you need to smoke and drink, and I hated the smell of smoke or the alcohol. With asthma, I could not stand it, so they said, well, then you can't be part of us. So nobody wanted me. I went for music lessons, and on the first day, the guitar teacher told me, please don't come back again. He said, you have no qualities of music, because I could not clap to the right beat or sing to the right tune. So no matter where I put my foot into, I did not fit. But at 16, I heard Jesus, and so I surrendered my life without knowing my future. And so I gave my life to Jesus, started off a new journey. I went back home. I gave up the idea of killing myself. And that's when I started this journey of wanting to do something where I can share my journey to others. Because there's so many people who feel like quitting life because of challenges. It can be because of broken relationships, it can be because of a job stress, it can be identity issue, it can be so many factors. And when Jesus came into my life, I found purpose. Till today, there are a lot of people who are still struggling to find purpose in life. 60-year-olds are asking me, Benny, how do I find purpose? I said, wow, that's a bit too late to ask that question. But there are people who are still searching. And I found my purpose when Jesus came into my life. Honestly, it sounds to be like a cliche, or it sounds to be like what? How can you really just say like that, Or like when people ask me, where do you get the money to travel? I remember there was one of this Jewish man from Australia had flown down to Philippines. He owns the largest, he has the largest strawberry business in the world. And he flew into one of the regions in Philippines where I was performing, and he came for business. So he came on his helicopter to that particular venue. And I sat there and I was talking, and then he saw, and he said, oh, I heard you have traveled the whole world. I said, yes. He said, where did you get the money? I said, well, God provided. He laughed and he said, do you think God will open something from there and He will pour out money? But God can provide in so many different ways. Why does it have to be only from top? Why can't it be from down? Why can't it be from the left? Why can't it be from the right? Why can't it just appear inside? You see? We limit God based on our limitations, right? So many people could not understand, but my life has been a journey of irrational faith, actually. Many times faith cannot be rational, actually. But it works. So in 2001, I asked the Lord, what is your dream for my life? I said, God, what do you want to do with my life? And that's when Jesus said, Benny, I want you to travel to every country by 2010. Now, in my family, my father, being a scientist, he has been to 2 countries. My mother has been to 2 countries. I thought, God, if I can go to one country, that will be a great lifetime dream to achieve. Now let me take a count. How many of you have been to 10 countries? Okay. 20 countries. 20? Okay. 15? Okay. So now we'll go down to, 14, 13, okay, 13, 11, 12, 11, 10, 10, you also put 10, right? Yeah, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, it sounds like the launching vehicle of a satellite. 4, 3,
No, 3, 2.
2, 1. How many of you have never traveled out of? So you see, even in a place like this, it's not easy and it's not common. The moment when you're ready to travel, you don't have the money. Once you have all the money, then you don't have the time. When you have the time and the money, you don't have the energy to travel. So it's not easy to travel the world. And God tells me to do something that is not common, out of the box. That's the beauty for me. I love to do things in such a unique way because I know that my God, Jesus Christ, works outside the box. And so a lot of things that I've done in my life or I've achieved has not been anything of my idea. It is just that I followed what Jesus told me to do. And one such thing was the travels. And traveling the world, when Jesus gave the idea, it was so precise. He said, Penny, by 2010, I want you to travel to every country in the world. So I started off my journey. I thought might be, every country, that's too much, but we'll start. I started off my journey. But for me, my values was more important than trying to achieve the end result. Somehow, it was something that really, it had a very important place in my life. Yes, I want to achieve things, but I want to do it the right way. And in 2002, 19th of February, for the first time, not for the first time, I had already flown a few countries by then, but as a concert artist, I went to Russia. For the first time, I was going to perform an international concert in Moscow. Everything was set. Celeste, her name was, who came to pick me up from the airport. It was from Campus Prasad for Christ. And when I landed in Moscow, they asked me for a bribe of $50. Now, I'm a Christian, and according to the teachings of the Bible, that we should neither give bribe or not take bribe. So I said, I will not. And because I refused to pay a bribe, they detained me in the airport for 30 hours. And for 30 hours, I was treated like a criminal. And it was really tough. It was humiliating. Imagine, this is my first trip. God has told me that I'll take you to every country in the world. I'm all excited for this journey, a plan for 8 years. And my first trip itself, I've started off on a very disastrous note. And he said, Benny, I will take you to every country. And here I'm saying, God, I'm stuck in the first country. I want to do the right thing. And many times we think that by doing the right thing, we will always have a positive result. And I refused to pay a bribe. So they detained me for 30 hours. And after 30 hours, they decided to deport me back to India. And I was shocked. And those days, the flight I took was Aeroflot Russian Airlines. And those days, smoking was permitted inside the plane. And imagine, I had 40% lungs. I can't even breathe properly. And here, I have to breathe smoke. And on top of that, I'm stressed with this whole challenge. And so I was deported, and I'm sitting in the plane. The guy sitting next to me is he's smoking throughout the journey. 3 hours he smoked. And I'm inhaling that. I'm having questions. I'm afraid, how am I going to face my family? Because it's going to be such a humiliation. I've lost my ticket, lost everything, and I land in Delhi. And I go to the counter to take my luggage, and my luggage did not arrive. My suitcase did not arrive, my guitar did not arrive. So I've lost my money for the flight ticket. I lost my vision of traveling to every country in the world, and here in my first country itself, I've been deported back. And so I went to the counter and I said, well, I don't have my suitcase and my guitar. And she checked the system and she said, sorry sir, your guitar is in Sweden and your suitcase is in Latvia. Can you give us the address where we need to ship it? So I'm almost stripped naked. I don't have anything. And I was like so broken. And I said, God, is this fair? Is this right? is this what I deserve for doing the right thing? I should have just paid that $50 and carried on. And in the midst of that time of pain and struggle, Jesus asked me, Benny, do you still call me good? I said, how can you be good? That was my response. How can you be good? Look what has happened. I never wanted to travel the world. It was your idea. And I obeyed you. I did the right thing. And is this what I deserve? And at that point is when I was led to the cross and what Jesus did for me, for my sins. And I was like, wow, God, you are God and you became a human. And you lived a life on this earth without sin. You died on the cross without sin. And you rose again so that you can take my sins and in exchange give me eternal life. So I surrendered my life to Jesus once again, and I said, God, you are good because you gave me eternal life. You are good because you forgave my sins. You gave me hope for my future. And God provided the money the next day, and I was able to travel. And that's how I started off my journey as a concert artist. Arrived in London, and from there went to Latvia. And you can show the world map on the screen, please. And this is my passport. Yeah. So this is my one passport.
Wow.
Let me put it in order. Yeah. So this passport is the proof of how I traveled to every single country on this earth, just like the world map there. Now this is not a Delta Airlines world map. It is the way I traveled to every single country on this earth. And the passport becomes the evident proof that how God could provide everything that was needed. It was finances, health, protection, vision. Because halfway through you can easily give up. You can get easily tired of changing suitcases. You can easily get tired living out of suitcases. Now sometimes I was in 3 countries in one day. And I was in 5 continents in a week. The way I traveled was, people couldn't even comprehend how could you do this. And I just kept traveling. And I still remember when I traveled in the Caribbean islands, the flights in the Caribbean are low flying aircraft, small ones with big windows, because these are called scenic flights. It's so beautiful. And these are 20-minute flights, short ones. And there itself I'm sleeping, and the air hostess came and woke me up and said, don't insult us like this. I said, what happened? She said, no, this is a scenic plane. You're supposed to look there, not here. And then I had to tell her, every day I'm taking a flight, and every day, and I said, this is the only time I can sleep well. And somehow, my mind got used to the sound, the vibration of the aircraft and all those things. So it really puts me to sleep so well. And I said, I saw the first one, so that's enough for me. And it's anyway blue everywhere. So, I was amazed of how God tailor-made my body and my vision and everything for the sake of travels. And I could travel to every single country on this earth. Places that nobody could ever imagine and comprehend. Places nobody knows where it is actually. Even my father, one day he asked me, can I take your passport to my office? I said, sure. So he took my passport and for the first time he showed me off to his fellow colleagues. Till that point, he was always ashamed of me. So he showed off my passport, and they took my passport and they started to flip it around and see. And one day somebody asked my dad, and he's an extremely intelligent man. So they asked him, where is Pitcairn Island? Thankfully, my father did not know where Pitcairn Island is. It was really humbling for him to come and ask me, where is Pitcairn Island? You know? And so I told him, and it was a brilliant story about Pitcairn Island actually. You know, Pitcairn Island is here, literally the end. And it's right in South Pacific Island. And you can't imagine, it's a country with about 66 people. That's the population of the entire nation. And the travel is from the nearest airport, wherever the nearest airport. Generally, the nearest airport is Tahiti. Yeah. From the nearest airport, it takes 2 days by boat. But the boat is available only once in 3 months. Okay? So, you miss that, you have to take the next one, that is after 3 months. So they calculate everything once in 3 months. And I couldn't believe that God would take me to a tiny little remote place like this. So when I went there and I landed in Pitcairn Island, and you know, Pitcairn Island does not have a harbor. So they park the ship in the middle of the ocean, and then they send small boats, and you need to jump onto the boat, and then the boat, and it's really a rough sea, and so they maneuver the boat just like as though you're going through the traffic, you know, but you're going through the waves there. And then we reach a point, and then we have to again jump onto the land. And then they told me that tomorrow is going to be the first ever concert in Pitcairn Island. They've never had an international concert. They've had local artists. First time an international artist is going to perform. And there at the concert, when I was performing, the pastor, it was at the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the pastor comes to me and he says, Benny, you will not believe this is the largest gathering we have ever had. I said, what do you mean by largest gathering? I come from a country with 1.4 billion people, you know. How can you beat the largest gathering there? He said, 54 people have showed up. And I said, why don't you round figure and make it 60, right? India is all about round figure, 54. Everything mattered for him. I said, why? He said, Benny, our entire population is 66 people. So 80% of the country has come to watch you. That can only happen in Pitcairn Island, actually. It's just, and I was like, wow. There was a season in my life I was written off by family. People were ashamed of me. People told me that you will never amount to anything. And here, I was in the historical books of being the first ever international artist to come into a concert in Pitcairn Island. That's the transforming power of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
That the way He can transform your life is so much that it's hard to believe that this really happened. If I wouldn't have shown my passports, it would not be easy for you to believe that, because this world map anyone can do. No, it took 9 months for 2 IT professionals to put my world map together. Because first they have to learn geography. No? And then they have to put all these things. And here, when they see a passport like this, people know that this is a lot. Many times at the immigration counters, they take a break because they're watching my passport, and it is like a kid watching a cartoon book, right? They're watching all the different stamps on my passport, and they're looking at all the different visas, and they say, oh, this country looks better than ours, and this, it's just amazing what God could do. And just imagine, if you find purpose in life, what you could do with your life. It's not all about money. Finding purpose is nothing to do with money. Some purposes bring a lot of money, some purposes might bring nothing. But the satisfaction that you get is something that is just so fulfilling. With my travels, it was not easy. Certain sacrifices that I had to do. I had to, and these are not big deal. Like, people would ask me, how did you manage to travel? I said, one, I gave up my right to taste of food. I literally gave up. Mentally, I prepared myself that I will never crave for any kind of food. So when you do that, when you go to a country, you're willing to eat anything that is offered. No matter, and Indian food has three elements. One is taste, two is smell, and three is color. Even if the taste and the smell is good, if the color is wrong, then you know something is wrong there. You can't mentally, you think that something is wrong. It's just hard. And here, God gave me the strength to give up my right to food. That's one. Two, give up my right to comfort. No, I've seen Americans going on mission trips carrying their own pillows. You can't do that. And here I gave up my right. I was hit by a javelin at the age of 12 or 13. And I have a problem with my spine. I can't sit in a position for more than half an hour. Every morning for me to get out of bed is a painful experience. And here, traveling, it's not easy. Every day, bed changes for me. If I'm traveling different places, one day the bed is soft, one day the bed is hard, one day you don't know where the bed is. It just changes from one to the other. But I've learned to give up my right. So what I did, I learned to sleep on the floor because the floor is very consistent no matter which part of the world you go. Right? So I've learned to sleep like that. And I've learned to adjust. If today my sleep is not good, then I'll think, okay, tomorrow it will be better. The day after tomorrow it will be better. Well, finally I will reach my home. At least I know that for sure I can sleep well. But I gave up my right to comfort. Otherwise, I will not be able to travel the way I used to travel 50 countries every year. Even in the aeroplane. Now, I can sleep so well in an aeroplane. So well. Many times I don't know what time the plane took off. The longest I slept, one stretch was 10 hours. And that is sitting. And sometimes I get upgraded to business class. I remember this one time in Air France, they upgraded me to business class from Cincinnati to Paris. It was an evening flight, had food, slept well, flat bed. And morning I woke up, the girl who was sitting next to me, her name was, no, I don't know her name, but she was a Korean girl. So and she was a fashion designer, we wished each other good morning and she said, did you sleep well? I said, oh, I slept so well. She said, yes, I saw you, you slept so well. I said, oh, thank you. And then I asked her, did you sleep well? She said, oh, 5-10 minutes. I said, why? What's wrong? It's a flat bed. She said, yeah, but I was scared, what if there is turbulence and this. I said, just because you're awake, you think that the turbulence will not hit? Do you have any control over the pilot? She says, yeah, you're right, Penny, but what if the plane crashes or something? I said, if the plane crashes, at least sleep and die. This is not the way to die, How many times we are so concerned and we are so scared, even though we have no power to change things. No? A lot of the times people are so scared of the future. If we know that there is a God who has numbered my days, so what's the big deal? So I'm not scared of going into these countries, eating. The worst food I've eaten was buffalo meat with skin and hair cooked together. This was in a country called Comoros in Africa. I ate it. And you can't eat. Basically, you have to swallow because you can't chew hair, right? How long can you chew hair? It's like chewing gum. But God protected me. Every country I've gone, I've taken tap water. Every country. And I would pray and I would say, Jesus, please cleanse this water, purify it, and I drank. Only 3 countries I became sick. Those 3 countries are USA, Holland, and New Zealand. The so-called clean countries, right? So, and this has been my journey. It's very adventurous. And every day is a new day. Every day I have to trust the Lord for His mercies, for His strength. And I've just enjoyed this life. And He took me to every country. He protected me from every harm from plane crashes, from the tsunami, and from all these viruses. Many times I don't know who is following who. Many times we both originated from the same country, whether it is SARS or H1N1 or when COVID time, I was stuck in India itself, so I can't take any credit for the journeys during that time. But otherwise, all this swine flu, any flu, when I see my world map, we're all either this virus is following me or I'm following the virus. The direction is all going towards the same thing. And I plan my journeys 1 year in advance. All my tickets, everything I plan 1 year in advance. And but God protected me. It's not that I was a smart guy. It's not because I was special to Jesus. No. It was just that God was merciful to me. And He provided everything that was needed. So I encourage you all, dear friends, that don't give up. And I want to close with a story about finances. But might be we can turn off, if anyone recording the phone, you can turn off this. I didn't want